Zoe noticed something interesting, and I decided to use that as a basis of giving her a little bit of feedback, and then we realized it would actually be quite cool to have on camera an example of that. As a coach, I mostly work fairly humanistically, like letting people discover things because it's more empowering. However, sometimes I will give my opinion on something, I'll point something out with permission and in service to the client. So it's not like, I'm the expert, this is what you need to know. It's very much like, hey, would you like an opinion? So Zoe, what was the observation you made, first of all?
When we were doing the air,
Yeah.
I noticed that I was touching my fingers.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was me being nervous or saying something, but I noticed
Yeah.
I was doing this a lot.
Okay, right, you don't normally do that?
No.
Okay, so good noticing from Zoe. Is it all right if I give you some feedback on that?
Yes.
Okay, and this is really just for the sake of all the things we've talked about and helping you develop as an artist, yeah? So I was doing that a lot, and Zoe was copying me quite a lot. This is one of my body language patterns. It's called steepling. It's one I do. I am the expert. And you're not used to doing it, which I think, first of all, maybe says something, right? Because this is a pattern of like, I have competence, I know something.
Yeah.
So there may be an issue for you to work on your authority there if you're not doing this regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah? Does that make sense? Is this landing? I could be
It's
totally full of shit, so
actually,
tell me if anything's landing, yeah? So we could give you a thing like authority pose to practice, you know, more authority type stuff, just from this little observation that you don't normally do that. No. The other thing is, I noticed that you tend to do what I'm doing. So some coaches are more watery, we might say, or they tend to mimic. And normally it's just they're highly empathic, sensitive people, so it's not a bad thing. Being an artist, that would make sense, right? I'd know you a little bit, you're a watery type person, like the head tilt, the sway, very giving. It's beautiful, and there's a downside to that. Yeah. What's the downside to sort of taking on other people's, in this case, patterns, but it could be emotions, it could be views. What's the pattern there?
Because I'm taking on how someone else feels, and potentially it could be not good.
Right, or their point of view of life. And can you give an example of that in your life? If it's not too private, if there's one, just to ground that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been very aware of other people and how they feel to it, and I pick it up very quickly.
Yeah.
And I know when I need to hide and move out of the way, so I can pick up if someone's not happy.
Okay, great, and that's a superpower. That's a superpower to be able to pick up on that really good. So it's not a bad thing, right? But it's also, avoiding people isn't always a good solution.
No.
Does that make sense? Yeah, so another solution here, just put your hand up and say no.
Yeah.
Right, and actually say no out loud if you're willing.
No.
Okay, now put your arm down and just imagine doing that. And I want you to imagine a force field. Did you ever see like the Death Star in Star Wars? It has like a force field. So imagine everything I'm Mark Walshing and I'm doing this. Can you feel the urge to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead imagine that hitting the force field and just sliding down. And then don't do it with your hands. We're just using this as an example because it's light, right? Or maybe I'm like really stressed and you're just hitting the force field. Or maybe I'm like really sad. And you can still connect with me, but it's hitting. The sadness isn't absorbing you. You can do this little mini thing with your hand. Is that like a revelation?
Yeah. I always wanted to be able to see that.
Magic! Okay, so what can you do now if someone's in a state or a thing that you're not wanting to, because sometimes you want to copy people and pick them up and then they're admirable and they're your teacher or whatever, that's great. I mean, like this one you could copy and that might be quite useful for you, right? Yeah. But I am Zoe, I know things, yeah? So, but what can you do when you don't want to pick something up now?
Do that, stop.
Okay, how do you do it? Talk me through it. Teach it to me just to make sure I've got it. So if I'm like super porous,
say stop.
Stop, and I can do it in my mind. Stop. And the second piece, the shield. Okay, the bubble. Some people have too much bubble. You might not have enough. Usually artists are high trait openness, which means they have like not enough shield. Yeah. Okay. So you don't have to do it all the time, but it's yours as an option if you want to practice. Good way to practice. Go to YouTube. Find someone you don't want to copy. Donald Trump or whoever. Yeah. Okay. Get the shield up and practice it. Do the reps. Okay. So that it's there when you need it. Again, it's something you could do as a little practice daily. Yeah.